there in your runs? It's, little chilly out there.
Layer it up. That's all it is. Layering as much as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate it.
That was amazing to have our good friend Coley Harvey join us and talk some sports. We're going to go ahead and continue on to our NFL talk. Just so much to cover here. I want to go ahead and move on to Deshaun Watson. Ed, talk a little bit about him. His future right now in the NFL is on hold. His future with the Texans, it's in limbo. What's going to happen here? There's been a lot of, with that, we have JJ Watt also there in that mix. And what's also going to happen with him? What do you get the feeling out of this? And what do you foresee happening?
There's always news that's coming out from the Texans that are saying that they have no desire, that they don't have to trade Deshaun Watson. They don't have to make a deal for him. I would think that if the right deal came along, every other team in the league would love to have a talent like Deshaun Watson. He is a generational talent. This guy only comes around once so often. Now that JJ Watt is gone, you lost DeAndre Hopkins last year. He lost his biggest target last year through an incredible fleecing by the Arizona Cardinals to get DeAndre Hopkins here. You lost him. You lost JJ Watt, arguably their greatest defensive player to ever play in the organization. And now Deshaun is just unhappy with the way things are going and how the front office for the Houston Texans aren't being receptive to him. They're not listening to him as far as what he would like to have as far as front office personnel goes. And I'm sure personnel play as far as players to put around him. He's just not happy with the way things are going right now. And he wants out, and he's 25 years old, and he deserves to be out. If he's not happy in Houston, he deserves to go wherever he would go, where he can actually contend for a championship and where he'll be happy in an organization that will actually work and listen to him and put pieces around him to make him better and to make the organization better and hopefully put a ring on his finger.
Let me ask this question, Ed. So we have DeAndre Hopkins. What happened with that? We have right now Deshaun Watson. He's not happy. We have JJ Watt. And it seems like I'm seeing a trend here with the Texans. There's something that's happening. The players are not happy. They're expressing their displeasure, discontent. Are the organization, the front office, whatever, is that where it stems from and that being the issue?
Yes, I believe that is exactly where it is. The McNair family, they're just at odds with Deshaun Watson and vice versa. He's not happy with the head coaching decision. I'm sure even though they did bring in an African-American head coach to be the coach of the Texans, he wanted input on who he wanted to have in there. And I'm sure he wanted input on who he wanted as the general manager. And neither one of those panned out for Deshaun Watson. So he feels like he's been left out and ignored to an extent that his desires and his wants and needs as the face of the franchise aren't being met. And he's not being listened to, and he's not happy with it. And he feels like it's a form of disrespect. And now he's like, okay, well, if they're not going to listen to me, if they're not going to listen to me on who I would like as the general manager and who I would like as a head coach and who I would like in here talent-wise, as far as players are concerned, once free agency hits and once the NFL draft is concerned, then why would I want to be here? Why would I want to waste my prime years in Houston when I can go somewhere else where I'm sure the general manager there of any one of 31 other teams would gladly listen to Deshaun Watson with what he wants to make his team better and to make him better. Because, again, this guy, 25 years old, one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League outside of the baby goat and others. But, gosh, it's so sad to see this situation. They're just at odds. And it shouldn't be that way, Joe. He should be enjoying these years. Mm-hmm. The Texans should be like, okay, Deshaun, so I hear you when you say you want this person as a GM or this person as a head coach, but they go against his wishes and they go completely off where he wants them to go. And now that's why he wants out.
What about JJ Watt now?
Where he goes?
Yeah, what happens with him now? Where's he going to go? What's a good fit? There hasn't been too much noise out there. Yes, there's been, there's this interest or not or whatnot, but he's still in limbo. I'm surprised that nobody's, made a move and say, picking him right up.
Right, because he was outright released, so he could sign with any team at any moment right now. But I'm sure they're working out particulars. I saw the other day where the Cleveland Browns could be in play for him. He would be a great fit there in Cleveland, along with Myles Garrett and the rest of that defense there. I know they would love to have him in Cleveland. And J.J. Watt likes what he's seeing with the Cleveland Browns. So watch out for the Cleveland Browns. Everybody's talking about, of course, could he reunite with his brothers in Pittsburgh and play for the Steelers? That could be a possibility. Could he go to your team? Could he go to the Green Bay Packers? I know that Aaron Rodgers would love to have a Hall of Famer on his defense. He would love to have him there. Could the Arizona Cardinals use him? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They'll have to make some adjustments, but yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you make adjustments for J.J. Watt, even though he's on the backside of his career. It's still J.J. He's a Hall of Fame talent. You make concessions to bring J.J. Watt in.
Mm-hmm. What can be the holdback
of him signing somewhere?
Of whether that's him signing somewhere or not already being with the team, especially being that he can go anywhere.
His age and his health. That could be an issue. He's good with money. I don't think money would be an issue for JJ. I think he's got enough money in the bank. I'm sure he's parlayed enough money and invested his money wisely. So money would not be an issue to him. Just like Ben Roethlisberger says, money's not an issue for me. I'll come back to Pittsburgh. You don't have to pay me a dime. I want to come back to Pittsburgh. So money's not an issue. It's probably age and fit. Where would he fit best in an organization? I'm sure there are teams that are looking at JJ like, okay, so we've got this amount of talent on our team now. How will JJ fit in there? Can he fit in here with the pieces that we have now? A majority of teams will say yes, because he's done it for so many years in Houston. And again, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Why would you not want to have him join your team, even in a limited capacity? Of course, he's probably not going to play 16 games and be as effective as he was in his great years in Houston, but he'd still be an important piece on anybody's defense. What do you think would be the hindrance to somebody signing JJ?
I don't know. That's why, for me, it's a surprise that he's already has not been snatched by a team, and that's why I'm asking the question, because I don't know what it can be. Great player. Anyone would be, should be jumping at the chance of having him on their team. I don't know. The only money, I don't, like you said, probably not the major issue here. Could maybe be the age.
I think so. And it's just particulars, Joe. It's the same thing with the Carson Wentz situation. There were talks that Chicago was in the mix for him, and Indianapolis, which of course he ended up going to. It just takes time for these deals to come through, Joe. It just doesn't happen overnight where GMs and agents just snap their fingers and the player just goes to the team automatically where they work it out. It takes time to work out, cross the T's and dot the I's. It's not an easy process to sign these contracts and get all these monies and all this compensation together. It takes a little bit of time. Right.
Probably a little bit more than a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit more than we would think or hope. Like Sam Darnold, for instance. There's a lot of teams that would love to have him. Like the Washington football team would love to have him. The Chicago Bears, PLR's team would love to have him. They'd love to get rid of Mitchell Trubisky and bring in Sam Darnold. Possibly the San Francisco 49ers. There's a lot of other teams that would love to have a young quarterback like Sam Darnold, because he's still young. He hasn't even hit his prime yet. He just needs the right situation like Carson Wentz to go to, but it's going to take time for this to happen. There's a lot of money and compensation and picks and all this other stuff that goes behind the scenes of making a deal happen. It just doesn't happen overnight.
Yes, that is very true. So we'll see how much longer we have to wait and have that unveiled for us and in J.J. Watt's decision and what team picks him up.
Where would you like him to go? Oh, yeah. Why did I ask that?
You know the answer to that question, Ed.
Yeah. I set myself up for that one.
There'll be two teams that my answer that would be. Number one would be Green Bay Packers.
He could go back home to Wisconsin.
Actually, it would be really nice to see him play with his brother.
That would be cool with his brothers. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. And of course, Cardinals make some adjustments, there to fit him in. And I think it would be a great addition. And if that does happen, that would put the Cardinals in a different spectrum for next season.
It would. It absolutely would. How would he look in Seattle? He'd be a good fit there in Seattle. As bad as they were defensively this year.
Yeah.
They could use JJ.
I guess that's not where I want him.
I wouldn't want to see JJ. I wouldn't want to see JJ twice a year, though. So no to see
exactly. That's where I want him going. If I want him on my team.
Yes, I'll either want him on my team or somewhere else. I don't want to see him twice a year. No.
And you know what? It's a lot with me saying that I would like to see him play with his brother, which he's in with the Steelers, which we know that history. So that means a lot coming out of me from this fan.
Yes.
I'm not gonna say it, but our Arizona Cardinals fans, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I will not mention it. That one still hurts. Moving on. And someone who's hurting a lot is Russell Wilson and Seattle Seahawks. They are not happy with one another. And Russell Wilson has expressed his displeasure.
They're just not happy with each other. The Seahawks aren't happy because Russell came out and publicly said that he's tired of being hit. He's been sacked 394 times, Joanna, in 9 years. I had his numbers right here. Where's Russell's numbers? Almost 400 times in his career. It's amazing that Russell's lasted 9 years. That's because he's taken great care of his body over the years, but he's got a right to be unhappy for the simple fact that he can't continue to take a bruising like that each and every year, Joanna, and expect to be as good as he's been over a 16-game period. If he gets sacked 3 or 4 times a game, if I think he got sacked 47 times this year, I believe. That's way too many times for a human being to suffer that kind of punishment, even a talent like Russell Wilson.
And for as good as a team that the Seattle Seahawks are, and it pains me to say that should not happen to a caliber of a quarterback that Russell Wilson is. There has something that needs to happen. Something needs to change. As great as a team that they are, and they have been. Why is this happening for him as a quarterback? You should be protecting your guy. And I can totally understand Russell Wilson expressing, and I'm surprised that he, as many times and how many sacks he's had in not only his career, but specifically last season, that he hasn't had major injury.
Yes, last year he was sacked 47 times. The year before, 48. The year before, 2018, was sacked 51 times. 394 sacks. The lowest sack total he had was his rookie year, and he got sacked 33 times that year. That's still way too many sacks, Joanna. It's just year after year. And I'm sure he's just frustrated. He's thinking, okay, I've got 2 great wide receivers in Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. I've got a decent running game when they're healthy. Why can't you surround me with an offensive line and I can be even more effective? This offense can be that more effective if I've got a strong offensive line, like the Indianapolis Colts did, like the Buffalo Bills did, like Tom Brady did a couple weeks ago in the Super Bowl when he was only sacked 1 time. An offensive line that strong, Russell would thrive if he had a line that strong, wouldn't he, Joanna?
He would.
Oh my God,
that would be scary.
Yes,
not that he's not already scary as it is with the quarterback that he is.
It'd be even more
terrifying.
It would. Then they've got their defensive struggles, Joanna, where they're consistently one of the worst teams defensively throughout last season, and I'm sure Russell had to make even more concessions and work harder to make up for their defensive shortcomings, and he had to work even harder to make up for their offensive line shortcomings. And you can see how it affected him toward the end of the season. He was nowhere near as effective as he was in the first half of the season when he was an MVP contender. He can't do it all.
And you can't. And with that, having the players that you have, having the offense, the defense that you have, just a team overall, and the coach as well. How much of this falls on the coaching staff, Pete Carroll? It
would fall on him a lot. He's a defensive-minded guy, Pete Carroll. That's why the Legion of Boom was so great in their heyday, and that was one of the signature, outside of Russell Wilson, that was one of the signature things to look at when the Seattle Seahawks, whenever you looked at the Seahawks, oh my gosh, that defense was so great when they were together, but then they slowly fell apart, and they never really invested in the front line outside of Dwayne Brown. Dwayne Brown's a really good offensive lineman for the Seahawks, but you need 4 more guys. You can't just have one really good offensive lineman and just mediocre guys to cover the other 4 positions. You got to have 5 strong guys, a wall Baker Mayfield had a really good offensive line in Cleveland. That's why they could run the ball as well as they did this year. And he threw the ball, and he got much better as the season went on because